Today you will know and understand things that are half explained. There must have been some defect, especially because there are many things that add information and value to the story, being some of them funny, interesting, and that give more development to the characters. Let's finish with this introduction and move on to the Epic Godfather. Number 0. The epic begins with Rocco kissing the hand of the Don, Michael Corleone. Number 1. The first cut scene happens right after this one, where Vito's brother Paolo is killed because his father, Antonio, also now dead, insulted Don Ciccio, a powerful local mob boss. Now Vito is missing, so the scene in question shows the capo's men going after young Vito to liquidate him. The mother refuses and decides to go talk to Don Ciccio to beg him not to do it. We all know what happens. Number 2. This one, if not, has something interesting. It is the extended threat of Fanucci the extortionist to a gentleman who doesn't have enough money to pay his rent, so the phony blackmails to hurt his young daughter. In the end, Fanucci leaves, and the father scolds the girl for walking in at that moment. Number 3. If the previous one wasn't up to par, this one is. It is curious. We see a shot of Vito Corleone walking with a basket of groceries. Then, purely by chance, he sees Fanucci being attacked by some young men who wanted to teach him a lesson. Vito hides, and we see that they cut his throat. Because of this, he later has a scar. This scene is before Vito, Clemenza, and Tessio are extorted, and it doesn't end there. Later in the store where Vito works, he plays crazy, the one who doesn't know. When Genco Abundando tells him what happened, adding that those young men are not murderers, they just wanted to scare him. Vito says that where he comes from, they would have killed him. Genco replies that he wishes they had, and we learn that Fanucci asks him for $50 a week and also wonders how to kill a guy like Fanucci. Right away we learn that Vito has already figured Fanucci out because he claims to him that he's not someone important. Genco, surprised, replies that he is protected and we'll see what happens. The shot ends with Vito scheming that we'll see what happens. Number 4. The scene you observe happens just before Clemenza offers to present Corleone with an expensive rug. Peter tells Vito that Vito works so many hours and for what? That he's like his father who worked more than 12 hours on the subway and couldn't even get on it. Number 5. The one we will analyze is the part where Vito Corleone and Salvatore Tessio meet. Clemenza brought them together in this place to buy weapons from an associate of his, Agostino Coppola, a former Marine in Italy. We can see that he has a son, Carmine. Tessio and Clemenza are alarmed, but Agostino reassures them that the child is trustworthy and tells him to play something on the flute for his friends. The instrument plays while we see that they are smuggling dresses and how Clemenza sells them. Originally, each one sells for $15 or $20. However, they give them for $5. And as if that were not enough, he makes an offer to the woman. A while later, Pete comes out triumphant and looks at the address of the house logically. It is possible that the lady wants other dresses later. Tessio asks him why it took him so long to come out. Clemenza says she didn't know which one to choose. They continue their work. Number 6. This part is immediately after Fanucci starts asking for quota from Vito and his, who at this point are not in the car. The extortionist gets out and goes halfway around the car, where, by the way, you can see his scar, to tell him that Clemenza knows how things are and takes the opportunity to put on some suits. He asks if he is married, to which Vito nods and Fanucci exclaims, "What a pity. I have 3 unmarried daughters." Number 7. This one continues right after the previous one. The 3 of them are seated. Tessio is the first to propose giving Fanucci $100 instead of $200 each. Peter refuses and is afraid. The scene we have already seen continues. Number 8. This is sometime later. When Vito is already the boss, he arrives home and is greeted by his wife, who introduces him to Mrs. Colombo because he needs her help. If you are liking the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Gangster Stories. Let's continue. Number 9. Well, the sequence of Don Corleone convincing Mr. Roberto has a cut that adds nothing. Basically, more persuasion by Vito to the landlord. Then follows a part that is not cut, and then another that is of Roberto arriving at Vito's business, asking for him. Number 10. This takes place less than a minute after scene 9. Genco tells Vito that Clemenza wants to talk to him. It is here that he introduces him to the young Jewish man, Hyman Suchowski, who is a car mechanic. Pete has the nickname Johnny Lips, but Vito Corleone says he will give him a better one and asks who he thinks is the best man in the world. Hyman replies Arnold Rothstein. Andolini then continues to call him Hyman Roth. Number 11. After the lunch that Vito and his family have with other people, including Don Tomasino in Corleone, the place where the most capo in New York was born and raised, the scene shows us how he takes revenge on those who tried to kill him at the time. They were Don Ciccio's hired assassins. He slices one and the other, Strollo, who without knowing who Vito was, told him that he worked for the mafioso 25 years ago and also claimed to have killed Vito. Beats him up. Number 12. Yeah, this is from The Godfather. After the conversation with Clemenza, Vito calls Santino's bluff for not paying attention and learning from his conversations. Number 13. When Vito tells Tom Hagen that he will have to travel to Hollywood to visit Jack Waltz, the scene cuts to Vito drinking wine and saying he is going to his daughter's wedding. Originally, however, followed by the above, his adopted son relays the news from the hospital. Genko will not survive another night. Vito asks Santino to tell his brothers and Johnny Fontaine to accompany him to visit the consigliere Genko. We switch to a general shot followed by a dialogue between Mike and his father. Vidafao. They arrive at the hospital. Before going to Genko's room, Vito asks what all those ribbons are for. Michael answers with decorations for bravery, and Vito replies, "What miracles did you do for strangers?" Mike ignores him. Don Corleone stops him and asks what he is going to do when he gets out of the army. Studying is the answer he receives. Vito expresses his support, mentioning in passing that he never goes to his father, that as soon as he finishes his studies, he should talk to him, because he has plans for him. Mike curtly replies, "We'll see." This subtly lets us interpret that the relationship between father and son is not very good. They enter the room of their dying friend and advisor. Genko calls him Godfather, and following the tradition that a Sicilian does not refuse requests on his daughter's wedding day, asks him to cure him, that he has that power. Vito denies having it. Again, he implores him to help him face death, not to betray him. Vito listens to him as the others leave the place. Number 14. As Don Corleone had announced, Tom travels to meet with the movie producer to get the contract for Johnny Fontaine. When he arrives, it is not in the form presented on the big screen. Before they talk, we see a sequence from the film set. Waltz is celebrating the birthday of Janie, an aspiring young actress from his company, Waltz International. She is given a horse as a gift. Well, we meet Jack turning down Thomas's request, then welcoming him into his luxurious mansion to later spurn him again. But when Hagen leaves the room, we unmask what under the table, and to the public eye is hidden. Tom goes upstairs and sees the same girl as before, weeping silently. Then we also see the mother who hurries to take her back to the room. If you read the novel, you will know that Waltz is a pedophile, this being a big reason for the hatred Vito has for this guy. Number 15. Number 15, this video has to end. Soon I will upload the second part analyzing these beautiful deleted scenes. If you liked the video, support me by liking, subscribing, commenting, and activating the little bell. Greetings.